You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. Smitty is live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss.
Live from Smitty1.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Take a lap.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Smitty. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. We've got some special guests in Twitter Spaces listening. We've got, how many people we got in here? We've got 70 plus people in Twitter Spaces listening. They might raise their hand, come up and ask a question, and we will attack everything that I possibly can attack on this hour show here, like we do every single Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. As you were with me earlier, you know that Darren Waller is not getting traded to the Green Bay Packers. That report came out today that shot down an earlier report and late report last night saying that the Packers were in talks to acquire Darren Waller. This came from a report that talked about how Waller and draft picks were potentially being looked at to go over to Waller and picks to go to the Packers to send Devontae Adams over to the Raiders. That was like the original potential deal that was being talked about and kicked around, and for technical reasons Waller was not included. And now I think people are kicking that up, trying to stir up, trade rumors and buzz. Oh, Waller is going to be traded to the Green Bay Packers. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, reported that is a 0% likelihood of going down. So that's a no-go. DK Metcalf, we're still on trade watch for DK Metcalf. I believe DK Metcalf is the most likely to be traded wide receiver of the four, I would say, disgruntled wide receivers, but DK's actually showing up to work. DK's actually not complaining. DK's doing his job, and maybe DK's the first one to get shipped off because he's coming strong to work, and we know Seattle is very vulnerable and susceptible to a trade because Seattle doesn't have the makings of a team that can win right now, and Seattle probably isn't interested in signing DK to a big fat long-term deal when the quarterback position isn't in place to support that contract. And as the time ticks away, you got a guy in a 4-year deal, turns into a 3-year deal, your quarterback's finally ready during the 2-year, when 2 years are gone. You want to potentially match up your contracts in a way so that if you trade DK for multiple first-round picks, you can bring in a Olave, you can bring in a Drake London if you want a bigger body type to kind of replace DK, and you have this rookie kid on a rookie contract, and then you bring in your quarterback if it's next year or however they decide to acquire their quarterback, and you can have this thing grow in unison versus having DK almost like having monster truck tires for a vehicle that can't even support it or utilize them. DK is a monster truck. This team does not have a signal caller. It does not have a vehicle. So DK Metcalf is, in my opinion, the most likely wide receiver trade to happen in the next couple days. Landing spots: Green Bay Packers, the New York Jets, and this digs into the Debo topic, and I've got everybody in Spaces that probably wants to hear about Debo. We got 62 of you in here. Raise your hand if you guys want to come up and ask a question from Spaces. But if DK goes to the Jets, that closes the door on a potential Debo Samuel deal. And I wanted to mention that in Twitter Spaces, but I didn't get a chance, or I got sidetracked and I forgot my train of thought. I lost it. But what I was going to say during one of the discussions we had on Twitter Spaces, for those of you listening, was that point that if DK goes to the Jets, similar to how Russell Wilson went to the Broncos when Aaron Rodgers was deciding to go back to Green Bay or potentially go play for the Denver Broncos, which was his projected number one landing spot. Guess what happened? Once the Broncos announced they were playing ball with Russell Wilson and not potentially Aaron Rodgers no longer had his best option on the table. I truly believe we'll never know, but I truly believe that Aaron Rodgers was more on the fence, and when that news came down, he was probably a little more shocked than anybody knows, and he backed into that Green Bay situation. I believe he was truly wavering. I believe he was truly wavering. Thank you, Garrett. Garrett says, Nick Chubb, that like button on YouTube. Guys, subscribe if you're new. Hit that like button on your way in the door, and we're getting to voicemails in just a minute. If DK lands in New York, then the Debo trades, I think there's no longer very many Debo Samuel trade possibilities, because the New York Jets have the money and willingness to spend the money, and they also have the draft capital. And when you talk about draft capital, it's not just does a team have the draft capital to pull off a deal and give the Niners what they want. The question is, does a team have enough draft capital to still have capital in the draft after the trade's made? And the Jets do have that to their advantage, meaning if they give up a 4 and a future first, or a 4 and a couple seconds, they still have the 10 pick. They still have picks in this draft to where they can trade a 10 or a 4 and not feel like they're losing out on participating and filling holes and being a part of this draft. That's a big psychological obstacle if you only have one pick and you're giving it up. If you had just the 10 pick, you might contemplate, okay, we could draft Garrett Wilson or we can keep Debo, but Garrett Wilson at the 10 pick would cost rookie salary. Maybe that's smarter to do. But when you have the 4 and the 10, you might be more willing to say, let's go after the guaranteed Debo Samuel, give up the 4 pick, a couple second rounders. Now we can use that 10 on a Stingley or whoever. And so it makes a whole lot more sense, or it makes it a little bit more, I think, doable for a team like the Jets. But the moment DK Metcalf, if he does land in a Jets uniform, game's over for trading Debo Samuel. But I still truly believe we're at a 20 to 25% chance that Debo even gets traded. So that's my gut based on history of these things. Watching people take this smoke and blow it out of proportion, I don't think we're looking at a trade. DK Metcalf, McLaurin, Debo Samuel, A.J. Brown, the top 4 wide receivers potentially in the mix to be moved. Not all of them will be moved. We have no guarantee that even one of them will be moved. But I firmly believe there's a very good shot that at least one of them, DK being the most likely to be moved on or before draft day. Here's a couple of questions. Bellamy has a question. Bellamy says, Smitty, hey Smitty, what do you think about Christian Watson? I love Christian Watson. And I think Christian Watson in the right place would be fire. You give him to a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who took Devontae Adams, a very raw specimen that had a whole lot of talent that was unsculpted, and Watson fits that bill. He's unsculpted. He can be molded into really whatever you want if he's got the quarterback support. And I think he's a really intriguing pick for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, because you could turn him into a star. He's that moldable. A guy like Olave could be unique there as well. A guy like Treylon Burks would be very good in Green Bay. In the case of San Francisco, if a trade was made, Garrett Wilson's talked about a lot at that 10 pick. That could work. He's probably a little more now ready than some wide receivers. But I would say that my favorite wide receiver, Jameson Williams, is the best pick across the board. I know some teams are more built for the now. The Packers could be looked at that way because maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back for 1 or 2 years, maybe 3, but probably 1 to 2. And Jameson Williams coming back from a torn ACL, he's 3 months into the recovery. He might be very limited if playing at all in the early part of the season. So, Burks would be a little bit better for, I think, Green Bay in terms of the short term and giving Aaron Rodgers what he needs, the tools he needs to win in 1 or 2 years versus expecting this man to play 3 years when he almost retired last year. So Watson, I like a lot. Bellamy, it's a good question. Next question is from, let's see here. Lance, the like button. Will Smith, the like button. Appreciate that, guys. Hit me with some more questions. We're going to go to Instagram questions in a minute. Twitter Spaces, raise your hand if you want to get in the mix for asking a question. Trade the 1.12 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a Dynasty League. I would probably say that's pretty even and close because the 1.12 is a hard rookie fantasy football pick to land. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, while he's very, very questionable moving forward, and you don't know if he's going to command that backfield or what's going to go on there. Rojo coming over from Tampa. Rojo isn't going to command much because that KC offense is super complicated. To pick it up is very, very difficult right away. It usually takes a player 1 to 2 years to pick up the entire scheme, which is why Clyde struggled. And Damian Williams will even attest to this because he said that once he was on the team a full year and he did really well in that playoff run, he literally had to be told what to do on each play by the end of the year. He still did not pick up the entire scheme. So that KC scheme is very difficult. I think Clyde's actually going to be pretty crafty. I might even want Clyde over the 1.12 rookie pick because the 1.12 rookie pick is a big stab in the dark. Not that I don't feel like I can land it. Not that you should feel like you can't land it, but I don't know. DK Metcalf, please come to Philadelphia, says Brian. I don't think that's happening, but I do think the Eagles with 2 first-round picks that are very close together, similar thinking that I had with the Jets in terms of are they willing to trade 1 pick when they have to. Similar kind of thinking. If you're the Eagles, you might be very tempted to go wide receiver with 2 picks, one of your 2 picks, because you have 2 picks. If you had just the 1 pick, I think they would be more pressured to not go wide receiver because of the pressure of missing on it. They've had a lot of picks, especially the Rager pick. They picked Jalen Rager over Justin Jefferson. The Eagles will never live that down. And when you only have 1 pick and you're going to go wide receiver again after you just took Devontae Smith, I think they'd take a lot of heat for that. They'd feel very pressured to not do that. With 2 picks, though, I think they'd be very tempted if the right player fell. Jameson Williams could be tempting. I think they could go after a Drake London potentially. They could go after, I don't think Garrett Wilson will fall, but they certainly would look at that if he fell that far. DK Metcalf, you could say Drake London might be the closest of this draft class to that kind of player maybe. Or you could say Jameson Williams is a mix of all these guys because Jameson Williams is just a beast. But I absolutely love Jamison Williams. I think you guys know that by now. I've done like 3 videos in a row where I've really focused on talking about him. I think this kid's got Randy Moss acceleration. If there's any wide receiver in this draft class, even though he tore his ACL and he's 3 months recovered, which means he won't have a really successful early part of his rookie year if he plays at all in the beginning part of the year. But once this kid's healthy, he will be able to be electric and be an explosive, game-changing, accelerating, unmatched accelerating type of player at the NFL level. What's up, Shy? What do you got for me?
Hey, I have 2 questions for you, Smitty. And I'm enjoying this conversation too. Also, with the situation going on with the 49ers right now, do you see a better receiver being picked up by the 49ers? And the second question I have is that if Debo is traded, then what receiver that's in the draft, or per se a running back, would be able to take his place? That's similar to his caliber.
Yeah, good question. So the first question was, do I see a receiver that could be better than him? Is that the question? And then what wide receiver would it be?
No. The first question was with what's going on, do you see the 49ers picking up a veteran receiver that's
veteran?
We know Shanahan loves. He has a rapport with Julio Jones. So
yeah.
I've been seeing Julio Jones lately, but we know Julio Jones had his injury. But will this be able to resurrect his career again as a top receiver? And then the second question was that if Debo is traded, what receiver or running back do we see that has the capability?
Running back. I love how you throw the running. Debo. I love how you throw the running back in there. You're just gonna put him in that box. He's a wide back.
Yeah, because Brian Robinson, that Robinson kid name has been popping up so much.
Yeah,
I've been seeing it, so I'm like, and I looked at him, and they was like saying he has a similarity of Debo.
Yeah,
and of course the kid from Arkansas too. So those are 2 they've been comparing, because they said I was reading on something that they said if he was drafted, the Robinson kid will be turned into a receiver, not a running back.
I got you. Okay, I'm gonna send you back down. I'm gonna reply to you. I appreciate that. Thanks so much, man. Good question. So I'm gonna say the first question of do I think a veteran will be brought in? I think Julio Jones would be definitely looked at. I don't know that he will be brought in. You said something about resurrecting his career and becoming he's shot. Like he could be okay and efficient, but being a stud, being a team's number one, even being a team's number one, let alone a wide receiver one, like in the NFL, like a top 12 to 15 guy in the fantasy context, he can't ever return to that. Could he become, a third wide receiver, a guy that gets 500 yards, but like maybe in a couple games, like 3-4 games in a row, you lean on him and he does really well, but then he gets banged up, and like that's his new career. Like if he stays in the NFL, it's like how many games can he be efficient for how long, and then he gets hurt. He's got paper thin hamstrings. Dude's not going to ever be the same, but he's certainly good enough to be a third wide receiver on the Niners roster, or to at least like rotate with that crew. Now, if Debo does get traded, which I don't think will happen, but there's still a possibility, 20 to 25% chance, Treylon Burks feels like the most Debo capable. And if you haven't watched film on Treylon Burks, I urge you to go do that after the show. Don't leave now. Go watch it after. But if you YouTube Treylon Burks highlights, you'll see Debo Samuel-esque type ability. You'll see a guy that catches the ball and is very smooth and direct and able to knife kind of all over the field. He's able to kind of take the ball from either the line of scrimmage or even behind the line of scrimmage a yard or two, kind of like Debo's wingback role, or take it, 3-yard slant, 5-yard slant, 7-yard slant, and do things with it like Debo. It's almost like he becomes not an awkward scat back type running back, but when Debo catches the ball, he turns into a running back. Same thing with Treylon Burks. When he catches the ball, he looks smoother than most wide receivers, but he looks different. It's because he does have that like running back mentality of contact and avoiding and trying to find open spaces instead of dancing around like a wide receiver kind of does. He just looks very, very much like Debo. I think Treylon Burks is the most Debo-esque player in the draft class if you're trying to replace Debo. But the thing I would tell you, Shai, is that you've got a guy in Ayuk that can kind of replace Debo. So I don't know that you necessarily need to go the route of let's replace Debo. Ayuk will replace Debo. Ayuk coming out of his rookie year looked like Debo looked last year. If you watch Ayuk's rookie highlight films, he was doing those Debo-esque runs. He was running all over the place. Brandon Ayuk's highlight reels were a majority of runs. If you go watch it, it's crazy. A lot of his big plays that are captured and spliced up on highlight reels are runs, end arounds, like, or just magnificent yak performances. So Ayuk's got the potential to be the Debo, and you can go get whatever wide receiver you want, like a Drake London. You could go get a Chris Olave. You could go get a Jameson Williams if you were in those positions to do so. You could get a Garrett Wilson if you want. You don't have to put yourself in a box to replace Debo if you trade Debo. So hopefully those answer your questions. And the likelihood again is a 20 to 25% chance I think that Debo gets traded. I'm not big on expecting this to happen. I just don't think the Kings ransom request is going to be met, and I don't believe the Niners are bluffing. I don't believe the Niners are saying that and they're going to accept the highest offer. I think the Niners literally have closed the door, left the door unlocked. Any team can walk in or knock, but it's not something where the Niners are even concerned. So don't expect Debo to be traded unless somebody comes with a Kings ransom type of offer. Aaron asked Kenneth Walker or CEH. Come on, bro. In redraft, like I don't know if you're trolling Aaron, but Kenneth Walker or Clyde. I like Clyde. I told you, like 7th round. Like, why not take a stab at Clyde in fantasy football redraft in the 7th round? Walker is a steal in round 4. If Kenneth Walker lands in Buffalo or in a place like Houston, which I don't really love Houston, but it's a good place to get volume at least. Kenneth Walker is going to be a late 2nd to early 3rd round pick in fantasy football drafts. So you're talking about Clyde not even being close to that, like more than double the value Walker will have. So Walker's a monster. Walker has top 8 to 15 running back upside in just a mediocre situation. If he went to Buffalo, he would be a top 5 to 10 running back his rookie year. Look at Najee Harris. Najee Harris may have had low efficiency, but he was given the rock a ton and he delivered. Najee Harris was so utilized and such a good player considering the limitations he couldn't control, like the offensive line and the signal caller who had a noodle arm that couldn't throw the ball down the field more than 15 yards. So Najee Harris, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, there's no difference between these 3 players if all of them are in great situations. And look at Najee, what he did in a bad situation. Breece Hall could do that too. You put Breece Hall behind that Pittsburgh Steelers line, like let's say the roles were reversed and for whatever reason you could pluck him from this year and shove him into last year's rookie draft and have him play that whole season out. He would have done very similar things to Najee. He would have caught the ball a little less maybe, but I don't even hold these guys' receiving production against them because I don't care if they weren't used well in college. I care what my eyes tell me. And Kenneth Walker can catch the football, but yet people act like he won't be a PPR guy at the NFL level. But Zeke Elliott also did not catch footballs in college, and people labeled him as a non-PPR guy. There's no way he's going to catch passes. He doesn't catch the football well. No, he does. If you watch him at the combine, just like you watch Kenneth Walker, you realize he can catch the football. The team didn't have him set up to do that. The team didn't utilize him in that way. That's not the player's fault. You got to use your eyeballs and assess the situation. And the bottom line is Kenneth Walker could be a top 5 PPR running back in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. That's how I feel. Any other questions from Twitter Spaces? Raise your hand and come up and we'll throw you up here. Swaggy, appreciate you being here. I have no problem with that comparison. Kenny, what are you guys talking about here? Let me see. Zach Wilson, QB1. No, Matthew. I love Zach Wilson, but let's not get too carried away here. Thielen, I don't like Thielen in 2022 all that much. What other questions you got? Throw them at me, guys. Jameson Williams is a stud, absolutely swaggy. I think he's going to ball out. Bruce wants to know DK or Debo come time. Oh, wait. DK or Debo come team with Justin Jefferson. I don't know what you're trying to say there, Bruce, but I think you're trying to say bring DK or Debo to the Vikings. I don't want them tampering with Justin Jefferson's volume. So I'm going to say negatory on that. I'm going to say negative. I'm going to say no thank you, Bruce. I don't want that to happen. I don't want the Vikings to draft Jameson Williams either. I don't think Kirk Cousins can distribute the football enough to this duo if that ends up happening. So I'm going to say pass on that one. Jameson Williams is Deshaun Jackson. That's not true, Kenny. I'm going to say that's false as well. I think Jameson Williams could be a top 5 to 10 wide receiver. I've gone back and forth on where I place him, I admit, lately, but I'll come to the conclusion walking in, and I tend to waver a little bit here and there on some of my predictions, you know, as I assess and kind of come to a conclusion before the draft. You start hearing different buzz too. You start worrying and wondering about health, and a guy like Jameson Williams who's coming back from an ACL recovery. 1 month in, you're going to feel a little bit more down on the guy playing really well his rookie year. You get to 2 months in, you get to 3 months in. Think of Saquon Barkley when he tore his ACL 2 years ago. It was like the moment he tore it, people were like not willing to draft him at all. And then he climbed way too high, and I told you guys to stay away from him, but people were back to talking about him being a top 10 to 15 overall pick heading into that year prior to this past year. And he completely busted. That's beside the point. I'm merely saying that it's easy to discount guys because of injuries, and I'm telling you right now, Jameson Williams, in my opinion, is the top wide receiver if you're patient enough to wait on him. Same thing goes, if I was looking at a team that wanted to invest in him, I would say if you're patient enough, like Green Bay might be a situation where you don't want to be patient, you want more of a now producing guy. Maybe you don't go Jameson Williams if you're the Packers, but ultimately he's the best player. So don't you just take the best player available? Don't you just assume, okay, we'll work out our quarterback position in 2 years' time. Let's take the best guy available. Let's build our future. Or do you say we've got Aaron Jones, we've got AJ Dillon, we've got Aaron Rodgers. We have time to win now. Let's draft a guy that we can insert right away and get production from week 1 on. I don't know. It's a tough dilemma to be in, and it's why I struggled to rank Jameson Williams 1 for a little while, just with that concern of how long it's going to take him to get to a certain level. Bellamy wants to know Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson PPR redraft. I mean, they're really one and the same. I'm not saying I couldn't pick if forced to. I would say give me talent-wise, I love Jefferson, but I don't love Kirk Cousins as much, although it's 1 year. You're asking me redraft. You're not asking me a dynasty long-term question. So I would say that, Jefferson's probably a little bit more, I'm still going to say Jamar Chase. I'm going to say dynasty Jamar Chase, redraft Jamar Chase because of Burrow. Not that Cousins can't deliver the football to Jefferson, but ultimately if the two receivers are almost neck and neck and you got Burrow throwing the ball to one of them and you've got Kirk Cousins throwing the ball to the other, I want to lean Jamar Chase, but I really do love both. You guys know how much I love Justin Jefferson. You know how much I love Jamar Chase. They're my number 1 and number 2 overall in long-term redraft, short-term redraft, or long-term dynasty. Doesn't really matter. These guys are just they're both studs. They're the top 2 wide receivers of the future. Higgins is missing all offseason, said Ronaldo. What's up, Terry? Appreciate you being here. Hit the thumbs up button on your way in the door, guys. I picked Walker in the 6th round instead of Clyde. That's why I was asking. Well, great job. Walker is an absolute steal in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round. Imagine if he goes to Buffalo. He will be a late second round pick at the very, very least, and you've got him at around 6. People, this is why you play best ball. And anybody right now listening on Twitter Spaces, if you go to Smitty1.com, Smitty1.com, and click on the Underdog Fantasy banner, or if you just go to UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code Smitty, I'll give anybody listening access to all the video course stuff that I have. If you guys do play fantasy football, free 10 to 15 minute phone call if you want to talk whatever, NFL football or about fantasy football, or you have a draft coming up and I can help you with that. Just go to Smitty1.com and click on the Underdog Fantasy banner, or go to UnderdogFantasy.com and enter promo code Smitty. Either way, you're getting free video course access all year, thousands of minutes of footage on how to negotiate, trade, this and that, all that stuff, and then of course the free phone call. What else we got here in the chat? Justin Jefferson is more of a baller. I don't know. I mean, they do different things, right? You got Justin Jefferson, who's he's shifty. He can run any route. He can get any jump ball. You got Jamar Chase, who's a jump ball specialist, and he's a spatial dominator. Like, he knows how to dominate the space around him like no other wide receiver. Not that Justin Jefferson doesn't do it at like top 5 fashion. Like, JJ can go up and get a football in top 5 overall fashion. Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase is probably the number 1 guy at it. And he's really good at spatial dominance, like running down the field and getting a player in space between a player before the ball's even in play. You know, so some of Jamar Chase's battling for position comes before the ball's even touched. And sometimes that's why you'll see him catch a ball uncontested, because he uses his body to create space with the defender before he makes contact with the ball. Whereas someone like DK will make contact with the ball and the person at the same time and still dominate a jump ball. That's DK's nature. But Jamar Chase is able to do some of that contact before the ball he's ever got his hands on it. So that's why a lot of times he ends up catching the football, alone when the defender's like a couple yards away from him, because he's so good at that spatial dominance stuff. Spatial intelligence is hard you don't really teach it. You know, like Jordan was probably the most intelligent athlete of all time in any sport in terms of spatial intelligence, understanding the space around him, understanding the glide points, like he's gliding in the air, when he's at the peak of his jump, how he can use his body and the rim to protect the ball, and how to jump up and bounce off of a player to give him momentum to head back toward the basket and allow him to get more airtime by just making contact with somebody mid-air. He get more airtime just by bumping into somebody. Nobody knew what he was doing. No one had a grasp on what spatial intelligence really was. We just know that Jordan had it innately, and he was able to dominate people in space around him in ways that you could only just look at and be like, what is he doing? You know, and as sports has progressed since Jordan, in general, every sport, you start to notice that this, you know, what this is, and you start defining it, and people start talking about it. And the same thing is with guys like Jamar Chase. When he's going after a ball, he'll literally use his body in ways that are hard. It's hard to explain, like how he's able to dominate people around him and set himself up for a good catch. He's absolutely phenomenal. Trade Kittle for Freiermuth and Juju. Trade Kittle for Freiermuth and Juju. I'd probably rather keep Kittle on the chance that they do use him more in San Francisco in 2022. I am afraid, and Raj from RSF 49ers made this point, saying that Kittle is probably maybe going to be used more than we think in blocking. Our initial instinct is, now that Trey's there, he's going to open it up and Kittle's going to be utilized. But this line is such a tough place that Kittle might be asked to block as much as normal or more than normal. So tough to say, but I still think Kittle's got more upside. But I do like Freiermuth a lot. I'm just not a big Juju fan, so I don't know that I would trade Freiermuth or I would trade Kittle for Freiermuth straight up, and I'm not sure Juju moves the needle at all. I don't really care. Juju's got upside, but I'm not like expecting him to be, an amazing fantasy football asset. I'm just not. Terry says Chase is good, and I love Burrow. Well, I agree with you, Terry. I think Joe Burrow could be a top 3 to 4 quarterback for the next 10, 15 years. Like, this guy's going to be electric. He's going to be how many Super Bowls is he going to win in the next 10? Let's call it 10 to 12 years. How many Super Bowls will Joe Burrow win? I'd say at least 2, which may not seem bold or crazy when he's playing 10, 12 years, but it's a tough AFC. That AFC conference is stacked. Like, to win 2 Super Bowls in 10 years is going to be tough in that conference. Herbert, I think, if I had to pick an AFC champion, I would say that the Chargers are going to win the AFC championship. I think the Chargers could win the Super Bowl. I think the Chargers will probably. I think Herbert will probably be the NFL MVP. I think if the Chargers don't win the AFC West, I think that Russell Wilson and the Broncos could, and I think Russell Wilson could be NFL MVP and Super Bowl champion. Isn't to say that the NFC won't have a shot at winning the Super Bowl this year. I think the Packers probably, if they trade for DK, then the Packers could definitely be in the mix. But past that, with rookies, I think the Packers aren't going to win it this year. They could have a productive year, but I don't think they're a top 2 team in the NFC. I think they don't make it to the NFC Championship if they have rookies, and they're rolling with rookies at wide receiver or at their top wide receiver spot. I think that the Niners, if they keep Deebo Samuel and they get everything kind of functioning well early on, the Niners will definitely be in the mix of being a top 3 team in the NFC. I truly believe that. I truly believe Trey Lance has the capability in his sophomore year to do what other sophomore quarterbacks have done that have had his skill set in my eyes, that being Mahomes, that being Herbert, that being Burrow. This is no different. Trey Lance, to me, has the ability to be as good as those guys were their sophomore years. You heard me. I believe Burrow in his sophomore year, which was last year, was in a lesser situation than Trey Lance will be if, in fact, Deebo is on the roster. I think Deebo on the roster, Trey Lance has a better scenario and situation than Joe Burrow had, especially if you account for the ACL recovery that he was still undergoing. He was still partially, limited and trying to get over that ACL at the beginning part of the year and probably through half of the year. And Burrow literally had a lesser situation than Trey Lance will have. And Trey Lance is as good of a talent as really any quarterback I've seen come out of college in a long time. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on that. I know I'm going to continue to get pushed back until it's either proven true or false. I get that. And I know that you can't land everything, and this is a bolder take, but I do believe that Trey Lance has the capability of being a top 5 to 7 in fantasy football quarterback, and he's got the ability to run like no other. So watch him. He had 14 touchdowns in his one season in college. And I know his one season's part of a concern for a lot of people, that he only had one season. He played for a college that was smaller. He didn't have elite competition, but he was still a Jerry Rice and Walter Payton Award winner. He still threw for 28 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He still ran for 14 touchdowns. You're talking about a 42 TD total season for a guy that was told he had to win that job because they brought in a transfer that was supposed to take his job. A real high-level transfer recruit came in to take the job and run with it. They chose Trey Lance, which is similar to the situation he's kind of in right now. Trey Lance knows how to handle these situations when his back's against the wall and he's got to deliver. And Trey Lance has all the weapons to tear it up. You don't even know if Trey Lance is starting, says Jets Gang. Jets Gang is back. Appreciate it. Jets Gang, you literally, and I'm okay with it, I'm not mad at you, but you literally do disagree with everything I say so far, which I don't hate that. Disagreeing's okay, but the Jets community right now, especially on Twitter, is going crazy about everything that's not related to them. Like, you Jets fans are so concerned with everything else that's unrelated to you. It's crazy. It's crazy. I appreciate it. I appreciate your hard work combing through every non-Jet forum you can find. Thankfully for you, I am not a specific team place to come congregate. I'm here for everybody. I'm here for Jets fans. I'm here for Cardinal fans. I'm here for Niner fans. I'm here for even Rams fans. I'm here for everybody because I'm an NFL and fantasy football show. So I do welcome you here, Jets Gang. You don't need to come at me all the time because I'm not against you. I actually feel like the Jets have a very, very good future. I think if you keep the 4 and the 10 pick, which I think is actually smarter than giving it up and going after Deebo, let Deebo stay in San Francisco where he belongs. But Jets Gang, you got the 4, you got the 10. You can take Jamison Williams. You can take Sauce Gardner or whoever. You can take the safety. You can take whoever you want. And you're going to be fired. The Jets are going to be the next Bengals. Give them more than 1 year. It won't happen this year, but one more calendar year, and then boom, you guys are in the money. So get excited, but there's no need to not come in here and be positive either, because Bengals wide receivers are better than the Niners. See, here you are again. Just start being positive. Let's start over. Clean slate, Jets fan. Clean slate. Come in here with a positive attitude. Let's bring up some positive stuff, bro. Okay? Trey Lance is special. Absolutely swaggy. If you don't agree with that, Jets fan, say something else. Okay? Terry says, Todd, what's up? I'm a Jets fan. Smitty is my hero. See, look, Todd is a Jets fan, and he loves the show. Anybody from Twitter want to jump up and ask a question? Let's change this up here. Let's get someone asking a question here. Let's hear another voice in here. Your boy Smitty's been talking all day. I've been on Twitter Spaces. I went on my emergency YouTube live stream to break down the Darren Waller trade rumors and shoot them down and talk about him not getting traded earlier in the day. Now I'm back live again. I've been sitting here talking. I'm losing my voice. Somebody come in here and ask your boy Smitty a question. Jets wide receiver at 10? I think so, Ricky. I think you take Jamison Williams or Garrett Wilson's been talked about. That still would be a decent pick for the Jets. I think the Jets take Jamison Williams. They take Sauce Gardner. You are in the money. You have a team. You have a team that's going to be, and you got all these. You got a couple of second round picks. So you're going to have a fire squad. Like imagine this. You want me to control your destiny? This is what I'd do. You ready? Listen up. Listen up. What pick do you have, Jets fan, in round 2? 2022 NFL draft order, second round. I think you have like the 33, something like that. So round two, you guys have the third pick in round 2, 35. You want me to tell you how you create a dynasty that no one's going to contend with 2 or 3 years from now, or it's going to be hard to contend with you? You take Sauce Gardner at 4. You take Jamison Williams at 10. You take Kenneth Walker at 35. You do that, and you are unstoppable. You are on the road to being an offense and a defense that is going to be hard to contend with 2 or 3 years from now. You are the Cincinnati Bengals 2 years from now. Listen to what I say. You take Kenneth Walker at 35. You take Sauce Gardner or Stingley or you could take that safety. What's his name? You could take a bunch of players. Hutchinson won't fall to 4, but you take one of those guys. Sauce Gardner is my guy. Sauce Gardner, Kenneth Walker, Jamison Williams. You have the top wide receiver from this draft class that could be a top 5 to 10 wide receiver in the NFL. You got the top running back, in my opinion, even over Breece Hall. And Kenneth Walker in a Jet system, I think, in time, would be a top 5 to 10, probably top 5 to 6 running back, maybe top 4 to 6 running back in the NFL. And you've got, like I said, that wide receiver. And you've got Elijah Moore, who's arguably a low-end wide receiver 1 still at that point. Zach Wilson will have all the weapons he needs. That's how you do it. That's how the New York Jets are on the map and on the map to stay. And you know, hopefully that entertained you, Jets fan, because I'm speaking about your team in a positive fashion. Speak about the show in a positive fashion. Stop bringing the negativity. Is London a huge upgrade over Corey Davis? Is that Corey Davis? Is that what you're saying? London's a big upgrade. Who are you saying? Smitty, apply to be the new Jets GM. I'm trying, Todd. Todd, is that, you're a Jets fan, is that not the best recipe you can think of? I mean, that's an amazing. Michael Carter is good, Smitty. So Kenneth Walker is better. I get it. I like Michael Carter. You could still use him. He's still a good backup. I'm not saying he can't thrive or do well if you do go another direction. Carter will be good, but Kenneth Walker is a game changer. He's a game changer, man. Jamison Williams, Kenneth Walker, and Sauce Gardner. Talk about an elite team in 1 year. It's gonna be. You'd probably be really good this year. You may miss the playoffs, but you'd play really well. You'd be set up properly. It'd be an absolute phenomenal win. It'd be the best draft I think I've ever seen. If you took Jamison Williams, Kenneth Walker, and Sauce Gardner, you would have the highest draft grade I could possibly ever give any team, and I don't know that anybody would ever top it. I don't, because you still have another pick or two, right? I don't think anybody would ever top Sauce Gardner, Jamison Williams, and Kenneth Walker. That's literally the top player at every single one of those positions. Sauce Gardner is my number one defensive back. My number one wide receiver is Jamison Williams. My number one running back is Kenneth Walker. You would absolutely explode. Yes, Russell Wilson to the moon. Zach Wilson to the moon. Zach Wilson would be an absolute monster. Jets fan, are you gonna talk about how I just said? Let's see here. Did you respond? I don't think you've given me any praise for what I just told you. the knowledge I just filled you up with, you should be more grateful than that. Swaggy's excited about that idea. Yeah, Jets Gang's weird. Be happy, bro. Okay, you like what I said. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Jets Gang. Positive comment from you. Appreciate you. Did you see Garrett Wilson say he would love to be in Kyle Shanahan's system? Yeah, he'd be a decent fit in Kyle Shanahan's system. If Debo gets traded, Garrett Wilson's not bad. I like Jameson Williams better for the long term for Trey. But if you want now, like Raj was saying, RSF 49ers when we were on Twitter Spaces earlier, which is still going over here in the corner, Raj made a good comment. Raj said that, Jameson Williams is good. He likes him, but, maybe Garrett Wilson's a little more now ready, which is true because, Jameson Williams is recovering 3 months into an ACL tear. That if you feel like your clock's ticking a little bit with Kittle, although you got time, I think he also said you had time because Ayuk, he's got this 5th-year option. But I think with Kittle, with everything in motion, maybe it is smart to go with a now player. I think Garrett Wilson's good enough that I don't think you're running the risk of not taking Jameson Williams. I think Garrett Wilson's got a good skill set. If he's in the right spot, he'd be pretty good. I think Garrett Wilson's very susceptible to situation, but the Niners situation would be a good one. So I don't think there'd be a problem there. But yeah, he would be a good fit. I could see Kyle wanting Garrett Wilson. He kind of plays a little bit like Ayuk already. So you got 2 potential Debo Samuel type players. Not that Garrett Wilson's big enough to do what Debo did, but if you want to run 2 wide receivers in similar fashion as a wide back from the wide receiver perspective, you're not bringing them in, lining them up under center or anything. People need to understand that when you say a player could play a wide back, it doesn't mean you have to take carries up the gut. It doesn't mean that you're going to break down because you're smaller than Debo Samuel. It matters what kind of wide back carries you get, because wide back, to me anyway, is when Debo steps 2 yards behind the line, you throw him the ball, and he literally starts running his play from behind the line of scrimmage. You're essentially saying you're so special with the ball in your hands, rather than have you run a 7-yard slant, give you the ball, and then have you extend the play from there. We just want to get you the ball immediately. Like you're a wide back. You're like a running back. You snap the ball, you hand the ball to the running back as fast as you can, and you let the running back take control from the line of scrimmage on, or a little bit behind the line of scrimmage. That's all a wide back really is. Hey, Debo, step back a yard. I'm throwing the ball to you. It's really a reception, right? It's counted as a rush. Debo Samuel now runs the ball as far as he can, and people are like, Debo Samuel is not a pure wide receiver. Debo Samuel only caught 1,400 yards. Did he? Or are you not counting? I mean, statistically, we can't count it. It's a rush. But are you not factoring in that a majority of his other 1,700 yards, or 1,700 total, he caught 14, ran over 300 or whatever. A lot of that is literally just a 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage reception. It's counted as a rush. Yeah, hit the thumbs up on your way in the door, please. Or hit the thumbs up if you've been sitting here. Help your boy Smitty. If you're in Spaces, do your boy Smitty a solid. I've been talking here for over 40, actually, like, I don't know, it's been like 2 hours, 2.5 hours if you consider the Spaces was going for like, what, an hour and a half before I went live on YouTube here. If you could do me a solid, guys, link is in my Twitter bio. Just go to my Twitter bio and click the YouTube link, and please just subscribe to the show real quick. Not only will that help your boy Smitty, who's been working hard here for you, but it also, I promise you, you won't regret it, because when breaking news happens, I go live. I'm talking about it. Even if you don't agree with me, I'm talking about all the different angles and scenarios. So I'm sure you'll agree with something at some point, but it gives you football to hear and talk about. I'm always live. I'm the guy that's always going live. And I do that because of you wonderful people that allow me to do so and give me the platform to do it. I have the best job in the whole wide world. This is my job. I'm so lucky and fortunate. I have people like Michael CPA in here, the top super chatter of the year so far on a single live stream. I dare someone to knock off Michael K CPA, who has dropped $199 super chat. He's the highest super chat dropper so far on the year. So knock him off. I dare you. Someone dropped 201. Somebody dropped $200 and knock off Michael K CPA. from the top super chat spot. I dare you. Let's go, Smitty. 2 days until the draft marathon. Yeah, for those of you in Twitter Spaces, and those of you watching on YouTube now, I'm going to be live pretty much the whole day. If I'm not live on YouTube, check out my IG. I'll be live on IG. If I'm not live on IG, check me out on YouTube. I'll just kind of be bouncing back and forth. I believe during the entire draft of the first round, I will be live on Instagram. We had over 5,000 people in our Instagram Quad Box live stream last year when Trey Lance was announced as the pick, because it is the Quad Box, the Niner show on Instagram. So I know some of you aren't really Niner fans, but you know your boy Smitty will bring the entire analysis to the entire draft. So watch it. You're going to enjoy the way I break it down. But we had over 5,000 people in the Instagram live stream when the Trey Lance pick was announced. We had so many people sitting there. It was crazy. And I was the one saying Trey Lance was going to get picked. They all were thinking it was going to be Fields. And so when Trey was picked, we went crazy. Unfortunately, he didn't get used. But he's going to get used this year. And your boy Smitty, who's been saying Trey from the beginning, way before he was ever thought to actually go to the Niners, by most people, I've been on this Trey wagon, this Trey Lance wagon for a while, and I'm not getting off, and I'm riding it until the wheels fall off, and I don't think the wheels will fall off. I don't think they'll fall off anytime soon. Michael CPA does accounting for El Chapo. That's why he's rich and can drop the $1.99 super chat, said Omar. I think Michael just used the petty cash at his business. He said, I'm a CPA. I can calculate what expenses we have to spare, and he literally dropped the $1.99 from probably the petty cash fund, is my guess, is why Michael CPA was able to do that. But in fairness, the top super chat was above 100 before he dropped that, but he just doubled it, I think. So thank you Michael, for being the top super chatter of the year so far in a single live stream. If Debo gets traded, what picks do you think he will go for? I firmly believe, like Raj said a minute ago, I firmly believe that we're talking about, we're talking about a 4 and a 10 as the asking price. Like, if you come knocking, do I think the Niners would settle on a 4th and a future first, or a 4th and 2 seconds? I think they might, but it's going to take that strong of an offer. It's also going to take the Jets to feel comfortable with Deebo Samuel signing an extension, which I don't know if they feel like, they will have a good grasp on what Debo's going to want. So, like, there's a lot that needs to happen between now and draft day for the trade to go down. The Jets won't trade for Debo if they don't feel and know that they can sign him to a deal. You know what I mean? So what does that look like? Does that mean that they grant him permission to seek a trade in the final hour here? Like, do we hear tonight or tomorrow? I predicted that Debo would request a trade, and people thought I was crazy. I said it on the Quad Box. I'm always at odds with my boys on the Quad Box, but I keep it real. And I said that Debo would request a trade. I said, watch, in less than a week, he will request a trade. He requested a trade. Wouldn't shock me in the next day or two if the Niners are serious about trading him, that they grant him permission to seek a trade. He starts talking to teams. He starts talking to the Jets. He finds out what the Jets are willing to pay. Who knows? Who knows how this goes? I'm not saying that's a lock. I think getting traded is probably not going to happen. I put it at a 20% chance, but we will see. Hey, Twitter Spaces, appreciate you being here. If you guys could real quickly just click on my profile, go to the link in my bio. It's youtube.com/The Fantasy Football Show. Do me a solid and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these shows. I'd really, really appreciate it. And then after you guys do that, I'm going to wait a second. I'm going to close the Twitter Spaces, and then I'm going to answer some Instagram voicemails that I have, and I got to pull up Instagram to do that. And if you want to continue watching, you can just click the link in my bio to hear those questions on the voicemail segment that's going to come up right now. So please click the profile, click on the link, subscribe. I really, really appreciate you guys doing that. It helps the channel, helps the show, and of course it helps keep us connected. And I love everyone here that's watching. You guys are awesome. You guys have hung with me like the whole time. Thank you to Little Tunes, May, McCara, I don't know some of these names, sorry. Gia, Talib, Jason, Asher, Daniel, Wilson, Chris B, Coop, DGAF, Andy, Aaron, Nick, Zay, Bang, Bang, 49er, OL, I don't know what that is, Sims, Ray, Joe, John V, JL, Tom 2, and Beerus instead of Chris, I don't know. Appreciate every one of you. Closing spaces now. Click on the bio. Go watch the rest of the show on YouTube if you can. Hit that subscribe button. Peace out. Twitter Spaces. I love you. Okay, so Twitter Spaces is over, and I'm going to pull up IG, and we've got several voicemails I got to get to. So your boy Smitty is going to get to those voicemails right this very second. I'm pulling it up right now. You guys have left me a boatload of them. I appreciate that. You guys rock. Here's one from Kevin.
Hey, Smitty, let's do some predictions. What players do you think will lose the most after the NFL draft in fantasy, and which players do you think will have the most gained after this NFL draft in fantasy?
That's a great question, man. Because I got to predict a bad landing spot, which is kind of hard to do. So I don't know if I can even answer this question like with accuracy. Like I'm totally guessing, but like DK could gain the most, and Rodgers could gain the most, and DK could lose the most based on expectation of him getting traded. Because if DK stays in Seattle and he's got Geno Smith or whoever the hell throwing to him, could Seattle take Malik Willis? Does Malik Willis? You can see the draft order right up here. Seattle's got the 9 pick. Could Malik Willis fall to the 9 pick? I suppose he could. I also think he could go before then. It's possible he goes number 2. It's possible a team trades up and drafts him number 1. Cam Newton in the final hour back in the day was not the number 1 pick, not even really close to being the number 1 pick, and he climbed all the way up in the final hour and got taken. So like it could happen. Things can change really quickly. Malik Willis going before pick number 9 would not be a shock. I think the Steelers are absolutely taking him if they can and move up to get him. I think Carolina's definitely not going to pass on him at 6 overall if I had to guess. So I don't think Seattle's gonna take him. I don't think Seattle's gonna take him. Atlanta just said they are interested in the QB. Atlanta's picking at number 8. Yeah, I think Atlanta could take him at 8. Carolina is probably most likely to take him at 6. Dable in New York might take him. The Giants might take him at 5. You never know. Daniel Jones is not the answer, and Dable is pretty smart, and Dable knows quarterbacks really well. It's kind of shocking that Dable is playing around with Danny Dimes. I don't think Dable believes in Danny Dimes, because I believe in Dable. If Dable believes in Danny Dimes, then I don't believe in Dable. And then we got a big circle. So, I don't want to go like this with Dable. I believe in Dable. So I think Dable's going to maybe toy around with the idea. Houston could take him, Malik Willis, maybe. I mean, they're in a rebuild year anyway. I could see him taking him and sitting him. What's the one player you can sit as a rookie? A quarterback. So Houston taking Malik Willis and then sitting him is genius if they want to again be the first, get a high draft pick and walk in, because they know what they're doing now. This isn't Bill O'Brien. Like, they got rid of him. They got a king's ransom for Watson. They're doing the right things now, and they're going to build properly. Houston drafting Malik Willis would be genius, because you could sit him, get a top pick, and then boom, come in and have another great draft, and then you'd be back on the map after 2-year absence of doing, or after multiple years of that. But I mean, in terms of the new regime. Terry Roberts, voicemail.
Smitty, it's Terry here. I got another question about the draft. When teams draft, do they draft for need at the time, or do they draft like mainly first round running backs, quarterbacks, and things like that, or defensive players? I mean, they're all mixed in. How do you know? Do teams mainly go for need at the time?
Most teams will draft for need majority of the time. The great scouts will take best player available. In my opinion, that's how I draft in fantasy. That's how I would draft at the NFL level. Now, it's within reason. You're not going to take a quarterback if you don't need a quarterback. You're not going to take a corner or safety if you have no need for a corner or safety. So best player available is very, very misguided sometimes. The definition people think just means the top ranked guy. I'm going to take the best player available and draft the top ranked player off the draft board. That's not best player available. But best player available is the best player for you in your situation, given the ceiling value and the risk floor. So in the case of Breece Hall is going at 3.1 to 3.8 in a fantasy draft. I don't care if his ADP is 3.1. I will reach for Breece Hall and take him at 15 or 16 overall, and he's still a home run best player available because he could be a top 5 running back. So like that's my thinking. Or Josh Allen, taking Josh Allen at 3.1 or 3.5. I don't always do it, but if I don't like who's on the board, I'll take him as the best player available because I'm not just going to have that, there's quarterbacks that will fall. I'll get one. I want to choose who I get. And I don't want to take a running back just because he's a running back because I need a running back in round 3. I'll take Josh Allen. I'll go, even if let's say I went Jamar Chase, and then in the second round I went Tyreek Hill, and then in the third round I get there and I'm like, okay, I need a running back. Breece Hall gets sniped. Everybody gets sniped. And I'm sitting there staring at like Akers and other guys I don't like. I'm not forcing running back. I'll figure it out. I'll draft ETN and Montgomery later and have this platoon-looking running crew that fell into my lap that probably shouldn't have, and I'll be like, okay, I'll make it work. I won't force myself to go position, but teams will. And that's why guys like Adrian Peterson got passed on. The teams that passed on Adrian Peterson back in the day because they needed an edge rusher or cornerback. You think they aren't kicking themselves?
All right, Smitty, I made a trade. I don't know if it's Smitty approved. I traded pick 1.3 for the combination of Treys in Trey Lance and Trey Sermon. How did I do?
If it's a 1 QB league, I'm not going to hit the take a lap button, but I will say if it's a 1 QB league, that 1.3's probably got more value than Trey Lance. I love Trey Lance, but if it's a 1 QB league, I probably would rather have gotten him cheaper. You could have got him cheaper. I'll give you a baby lap because you could have got him cheaper. You probably should have.
Take a lap. Take a lap.
Doesn't mean it's a bad trade.
Take a lap.
It just,
Hey, what's going on?
Doug's back.
So, the more I think about it, the more giving up Nick Chubb for the second overall rookie pick seems really, really favorable towards me. You get Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker in just an okay to good position, or then Jameson Williams or Olave, or even Burks, in a great position with that second pick. You get to choose whoever you want. I feel like it really, really just is on average better than Chubb.
Yeah. I mean, it could work out really well if both Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall land in good spots. Like if Kenneth Walker is in Houston, which I don't really love, but it's a good volume location. And then you got Breece Hall land in Buffalo, then Breece will be the 1.1, Kenneth Walker will be the 1.2, and you have a really good swap. Like I would take Kenneth Walker in Houston, I would take Kenneth Walker in Cincinnati, which I know probably won't happen, but I've been pushing that. Arizona, let's say, takes Kenneth Walker. They probably would take Breece Hall, so it would be Buffalo that would take Kenneth Walker. Then you'd love it. But there's a chance Kenneth Walker doesn't land in a good spot, and you alluded to maybe then you backtrack to Jameson Williams. But Chubb might command, I guess in Dynasty, maybe he doesn't. Chubb's hard to trade in Dynasty. I've tried to do it, and no one will give you anything for Chubb in Dynasty. Not anything great. Yeah, I probably do like the 2 pick more. I'd probably try and get more because Chubb in redraft goes in like the top 10, 12, and it's really a tough pill to swallow to be like, yeah, give me something way less than that in Dynasty just because it's Dynasty, but that's the nature of Dynasty versus redraft. I probably like that 1.2 better, but I'd try and get more.
Hey, what's going on, Smitty? So, the more I think about it, the more giving up.
That was the same question. Okay, Terry.
Hey, it's Terry here. Smitty, what's your outlook on A-Rod this year? Is he super value? I know it's 2 days before the draft, but your outlook on it?
A-Rod, I think A-Rod's a good grab because there's still a decent likelihood that A-Rod ends up getting like DK or McLaurin. Like not a great likelihood, but a decent likelihood. And then if he doesn't, his values drop so much with Adams being in Las Vegas that I don't think you're overpaying. I think the risk is pretty well baked in. So I don't think if you pass on Aaron Rodgers into a point where like you're baking in the value, and then what if he gets DK'd and it's to the moon for Aaron Rodgers? He's top 5. So I do like Aaron Rodgers at his current value. Just make sure you're not buying him as a top 5 quarterback is all, because you don't need to.
Hey Smitty, it's Trey. How's it going? Hope all is
Freak.
going well. With the NFL draft approaching in the next couple of days, what's your take on Breece Hall and or Kenneth Walker either landing at the Arizona Cardinals or the Buffalo Bills? Thanks, pal.
Yeah, so Breece Hall probably could go to the Cardinals. I don't know that the Cardinals would take Kenneth Walker first, but you never know. Like, you don't know. I think if Breece Hall went to the Cardinals, the Bills would be tempted to go Kenneth Walker. I think if Breece Hall goes, if the Cardinals don't go running back and the Bills go Breece Hall, I think Kenneth Walker falls to the second round, potentially. Maybe not. But the Cardinals with either one would be a good spot. I do worry a little bit that they would utilize him properly, but I think they would. They'd like to run the ball a ton. I mean, look at Connor last year. Connor signing a new deal is a little concerning if Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker land in Arizona, but talent should win out in that case. And you might have a Javonte Williams thing on your hands up for 1 year, as Connor would really eat into Walker or Hall's workload for the first year. I do think you would enter the second year with Connor getting hurt and not really finishing the year, and then you're like, okay, we know the obvious, Javonte season similar to Javonte right now. So Arizona's not an amazing outlook in year one. There's potentially enough volume to make them a high-end running back too. But we don't really want Arizona as a landing spot. Arizona, from a football perspective, should take Breece Hall. From a football perspective, they should take Breece Hall. They made a mistake taking Collins in round 1 instead of taking Najee Harris, which I was distraught about. Ultimately, I'm glad. I think Najee could be okay as soon as Pittsburgh gets a quarterback under center. Maybe Trubisky's the real deal. Probably not. But I think Arizona would be smart to take Hall, but I kind of hope from a fantasy perspective they don't. Bruce.
They would have made it a first, a second,
Oh.
and one. All right, Smitty. Here's a quick question for you.
The Bruce.
The Packers are trying to trade
What's
for
up, media?
Waller now. Why didn't they include him in the original trade? A real general manager would have did that.
A real general manager.
Hey Smitty, it's Trey.
Oh.
How's it going? Hope all is
Bruce.
For
The Bruce.
they would have made it a first, a second, and Waller for Devontae Adams. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there was something about the franchise tag. Technically speaking, they couldn't include Waller or whatever. I'll find the exact details and read that to you another time. But it couldn't technically be done, I guess, or they pulled it. I don't know. But that's a lot to give up Waller. But that news got shot down, obviously. No Waller. Waller's not getting traded.
All right,
Caden.
The more I think about it, giving up Nick Chubb for the second overall rookie pick really sounds intriguing, whether it be Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker.
Okay, I think I already got that one. Here we go. Bruce.
hypothetically, let's just say the Cardinals draft Bryce Hall, or Kenneth Walker. What is the James Conner effect on them?
Good. You're reading my mind. I already got to that, so thank you for that question, Bruce.
Hey, Smitty, what wide receivers would you be worried about landing on the Jets to affect Elijah Moore's value?
Good question. I think if Jamison Williams lands there, that ultimately makes Elijah Moore become T. Higgins, if that makes sense. I think that does make sense. That's probably the most perfect way to put it, I might add. You turn Elijah Moore into T. Higgins if Jamison Williams or Garrett Wilson or maybe Treylon Burks, maybe not. Maybe Elijah Moore holds Treylon Burks off. But Jamison Williams landing in a Jets uniform ultimately turns him into, not a pumpkin, but turns him into Higgins, which is like, a good pumpkin. Jack-o'-lantern.
Hey, Smitty, what wide receivers would you be worried about landing on the Jets to affect?
Okay, I think I might be caught up on the questions. Let me go down to the bottom, see if there's any more. I don't think there are. I think we're good to go. I think we got all the questions hammered through. I appreciate you all being here. I'll see you tomorrow. We got one more show before the next day, and that's live, on and off all day. So Thursday, we'll have a 7 p.m. show. We'll just be live doing draft coverage and be consistently live and on and off. Might be on Instagram, depending on the time frame and everything. So check me out. I will be live almost the entirety of the late morning and into the evening, and maybe even up to midnight on and off. Who knows? But I will be literally, okay, media, appreciate you. I will be literally live on and off the entire day. So if I'm not live on YouTube at the Fantasy Football Show, which can always be found at thefantasyfootballshow.com or Smitty1, or just go to youtube.com/thefantasyfootballshow, but on Instagram at the Fantasy Football Show. Same handle on IG and on YouTube. I will be live. Check both. Instagram, no. YouTube, yes. YouTube, no. Instagram, yes. And during the entire first round, we should be live on IG, the Quad Box. We had 5,000 people in our live stream last draft at one given moment. It was crazy. I respond to every comment. Drop a comment on the YouTube channel. Until tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Later.